cocinando en el laboratorio. Yo vine del lodo, ahora quieren fotos. Y vamos por todo, cocinando en el lab.
Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the GMRT Experience. I gotta stop saying what episode this is. My video guy said that. Dude, stop saying that because sometimes we're gonna drop this before then the other one. So I don't know what episode this is.
It's okay.
It's so good. But I'm excited today, man. We're gonna have a good podcast, good conversation. I'm over here with my friend Paul. He has a lot of game, especially for you younger bucks. I'm still a young buck, but the younger bucks. He's gonna give us some real meaningful values. So I'll let you introduce yourself, bro.
Hey guys, Paul Clewell out of Atlanta, Georgia. Currently a COO of Legacy Education. Probably doesn't sound familiar at all, but many of you probably know Robert Kiyosaki. If you don't know Robert Kiyosaki, you probably know Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Right? His series of books and courses and training. So I'm now the COO of that company within a public shell. And doing 10X, man. Still doing the Cardone 10X, doing some coaching, doing some keynote speaking. Brought me out to Salt Lake City. So I thought I'd hit up my boy here, Rainey, and get together and see his crib here and his digs. It's cool, bro. Love it.
Appreciate that, bro. Yeah, it's like I'm excited to have you here, you know, especially, you've seen the growth as GMRT when we started, like, actually really selling custom shoes, like, you know, a power room and all that cool stuff. So now being able to bring people like you that have already done business with us and then kind of bring you into our world. Be like, hey, man, this is what we're all about. Like, this is what we're trying to do now. Like, all that stuff, it feels good because, like, you know, a lot of people don't know that, and this is probably the first time I'm sharing here in the podcast. As we were starting GMRT Customs, I was already in business for about five years or so, a little longer, doing other stuff like clothing and all that. But every shoe that we did, let's just say last year, like literally, every shoe that we did last year meant everything to me because that meant payroll. Yeah. That meant, like, to keep the dream going, like literally.
Yeah.
Every month, like every shoe was like, fuck yeah, we're here. We're still in the game. So going back to that, like now that when we get big orders, I don't like to take that for granted. Does that make sense?
Because, makes perfect sense.
Because it's like, dude, this all started with that one shoe. That one shoe helped me. Like, I can tell you where I was. Dude, every shoe from last year, I can tell you where I was at that time. Because I remember. Yeah. And I remember where I was mentally at that time. Where was the business at that time? So having you here into our world means everything to me.
Yeah, man. Well, again, you just said it, but to see you go from, you know, doing a one-off pair of custom shoes for people, and then, like you said, walking into your world, I was amazed, man. I was blown away when I walked in here. The vibe is just so cool. I love it. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, bro. So, you know, like, tell us, you know, like, I want to start the podcast just kind of like, if you want to tell here our audience, like, right now, what are you currently doing? Because you were doing corporate. Now, I was telling you off the air how I've been seeing how your personal brand has grown. Yeah. I've been seeing you out there more. So what does that mean? What exactly are you doing and how you're like shifting with the market and you know everything else? Yeah.
So, you know, the personal brand thing, as we talked about off camera. So, you know, I walked in this morning and Randy's like, wow, dude, look at you. You're looking all fly, or whatever word you're using, whatever word you young guys use. And that's just me being me, you know. And so I spent over 20 years in corporate, you know, in that traditional corporate role, you know, the corner office and the, you know, flying around and wearing suits and ties and all that bullshit. And I left that in 2013. And I started getting into coaching and consulting, and I hit the real estate business really hard as an investor, and I was investing in other businesses. So I was really doing my own thing, and, you know, I had my own jam going. And there's an authenticity that comes with working for yourself, as you know. So the personal brand piece was not a big shift for me. I was so thankful and so relieved to get out of the corporate role and the suits and the ties and the corporate meetings and all that garbage, because it allowed me to just be who I am, be an authentic version of me. Because at times in the corporate role, sometimes you got to play a certain game because it's corporate. And I was tired of that. So now it's just me being me, man. Like I wear what I want to wear. I express myself the way I want to express myself. And what's really cool about it, Randy, and I know you're this way too, I just have some wisdom over you. I'm not smarter or anything else, but I do have some wisdom over you, is I get to a place now where I just don't care. I don't care what people think anymore. But I don't want that to be taken out of context. Of course, I care what people think in terms of, having proper manners and being a professional and being kind and caring and loving and compassionate and all those things. But at the end of the day, if somebody wants to judge me by something I've said, I don't care, because I speak my heart. I speak my truth. I speak my authenticity, and just that deep soul that we all have within us. I finally found that. Wow. And it was outside the corporate realm, right? Wow. And so I just speak my truth, because my truth and your truth are two different truths, right? So I just speak my truth. Sometimes people don't like it, but that's okay, because I may not like theirs either. But I love that people can speak their truth and feel free and comfortable in their own skin to do so. So the whole branding thing, it's fresh, right?
Yeah,
it's
really fresh.
It's fresh in the sense that probably a different meaning for you younger guys. Fresh as in it looks good. For me, it's fresh, and it just allows me to breathe new air, breathe some different air. And I'm doing a lot of stages now and talking and things like that. And I just want to give back through my years of experience and through being the wiser guy on the block in most cases, right? With age and stuff. But I just want to give back now. And I just want to, I love talking with guys like you who are just so enthusiastic about what you do, and you pour your heart into your business, and you're going to make mistakes along the way. And man, if there's anybody I've made every mistake you could make. I have made all of them. So now I love to work with younger guys and gals to kind of escalate or accelerate where they're going and maybe avoid some of the mistakes that I've made along the way.
Wow. That's really profound, dude, because what I realize right now where I'm in my journey is like, I just need you got to be a student of the game always. Yeah. Like, once I got into like working with like people like you, we were designing shoes. My biggest thing was like, okay, how can I take advantage of the proximity now that I have to somebody that's at a higher thinking than me? And that's what this year's been all about, like really figuring that out and understanding, okay, the mistakes are going to happen. I still got to ask questions. Yeah. Just because things might be going good doesn't mean it's always going to be good.
Right.
And so having conversations like that with people that have done it is refreshing, and it's calming too, because it's like, dude, what's the rush? Like, okay, like really figure out what you're trying to do right now. How can you make that good? So it's very good that you're touching on that, especially because we have a lot of younger guys listening. That you're touching on that.
I think you mentioned the word proximity, right? So proximity is power, right? And I think a lot of younger guys, girls, they look at whoever they look up to on social media, wherever they are, and they go, wow, like if only I could get to that person. How can I get to that person? And I talk about this with my kids as well. They're in their early 20s. If you want to get proximity to somebody, you've got to figure out how you can add value, right? Because going to somebody and asking for a favor, but not being able to give anything in this new relationship is never going to get you where you want to go, right? A lot of people think, well, how can I take advantage of meeting Rainey? How can I take advantage of meeting whoever that person is? The answer is you can't take advantage of it if you don't have something of value to invest into that relationship. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all are going to hang our hats on, the relationships that we carry, right? So figure out a way to create value. What can you do for that individual that you want something from? It's a give and take, right? You can only give so much before you tell somebody to go away, right? So it's be able to reciprocate, right? If you want to get close to somebody, for your advantage, you have to figure out what can you give in return that's going to help them as well.
That's so good.
And you grow together.
That's so good. Yeah, I've learned that a lot, especially like last year.
Yeah.
As I was trying to grow I'm still trying to grow the business, but as we were trying to like, get more shoes, I nobody explained that to me how you are right now. So whoever's listening to right now, like what he just said, just apply that, because that's game changer. I would have paid a lot of money for that information. I didn't understand that. Like I never knew that.
Yeah.
But it's been very, very profound. One of the questions that I was planning as I was prepping for this podcast is like, I'm very intrigued. You as a high level man, you're traveling, running businesses, investing, doing all that cool stuff that you do. You have family, you have kids. How does that balance work?
Boy,
I know there's no balance, but how does it work, bro? Like what in your world, what's been the biggest thing? Okay, this is working. I've tried that. That's not working. Because I think about that. I'm single. That's why I'm like, I can be all in. I can be obsessed. I don't have to answer to nobody. But I understand that eventually that's going to have to change. But I want to keep being obsessed. Like I love that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said there is no balance, right? And for your listeners, whatever you're reading or whatever you're listening to and people are telling you to find balance, what do they call it? Work-life balance. It's bullshit. There is no work-life balance. So, and I say that because think about it, like I have a family, right? If I'm with my family on vacation, for example, but while I'm on vacation with my family, I'm responding to texts and I'm doing emails and my mind is somewhere else on business. I'm not all in with my family and I'm depriving them of me and my time and commitment to them as a family, right?
So good.
And it works the other way too. So when I'm on business, I'm not saying my family doesn't come into my thoughts, because of course it does, but when I'm working, I'm all in on work. I'm not responding to a 15-year-old, when he can't find his shoes, right? So I don't buy into the balance thing. I think when you're all in, you're all in. And then when you go home, for example, and you're with your family or your friends or the people you spend your personal time with, you go all in on those people. Because I think trying to create balance leads to all kinds of other issues. And I think the biggest issue it creates is this struggle with what we call time management. And think about, time management in the traditional way that it's always been taught, right? How do you manage your time and, all these things. And really what time management is, and I don't buy into it, and here's why. Time management, if you think about it, it's you looking at your calendar, taking all the requests and the requirements and tasks that you have going on for that day and that week. And they're like puzzle pieces and you move them all around. Oh, I got to fit this guy in for a podcast from 2 to 3, and then I got 30 minutes to be with my team. Then I got to be somewhere at 4, and then tomorrow somebody asked me to do this, and so you take all these puzzle pieces and you start putting them together. So if I were to ask you, are you good at time management? You go, yeah, man, I'm really good. I really know how to put all those pieces together. Really, all you're doing is accommodating everybody else's needs and desires.
Wow.
Right? So for me, I don't like time management. Because it just means I'm figuring out a way to fill up my schedule conveniently with everybody else's stuff. So I like time control. I call it time control, not time management, where I take time in my day and in my week and I block out big chunks. And those big chunks are for me. Because at the end of the day, I can't serve anybody if I don't serve myself and make sure that I'm well maintained, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So I take that time out to make sure that I'm good. Because if I'm not good, how can I help somebody else? I can't serve anybody if I can't first serve myself. I don't mean in a selfish way, obviously.
No, that makes sense.
Right? So for me, it's more about time control, where I can block out those hours for me. And whether it's meditation or prayer or weightlifting, or it doesn't matter what it is. So anyway.
No, that's really good. So because it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like to me, like for example, I got certain things in my life that I gotta do for me.
Yep.
So my team gets the best of me.
That's it.
And I've noticed the moment I stop doing certain things, my mood's off.
Yep.
Like I'm just off.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to go back really quick.
Yeah.
So, for example, like when you're at work, does your like wife understand? Like Paul is like all in, like she takes care of like whatever's going on at home. Is that dynamic or how does it work? Like, does she understand? Okay, like he's all in at work, but when he's at home, he's all in at home. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think we have adopted it almost like it's a team game, right? So like my daughter just started her corporate career. She moved to Boston. She's got a great job there now. I've got a 20-year-old who's a junior in college. I've got a 15-year-old who's still at home, and my wife. And we approach it as a team, right? So for example, flying out to Salt Lake City this morning from Atlanta, I left so early that everybody else was still asleep, right? We got people to get up for school and lunches need to be made. And so everybody understands that they have a role on the team, right? So, hey, dad's going out of town. I got to set my own alarm and get myself up. Hey, husband's out of town. I got to make plan something for dinner, right? So we divide and conquer. And we do that regularly, right? We all know we have a role to play. And we respect each other's roles, right? Because I tried to promote that same thing, like even with my kids. If you're at school, you're focused at school. Like you don't need to worry about what's going, the latest Fortnite update, right? That can wait till Friday night or Saturday or whatever. So I think we've, and what works for me doesn't work for everybody, but we've taken kind of a team approach, and we all know we have our role.
So good
within the team.
So good.
Yeah.
No, that's really good because like as you're going in your business, like I like whoever's listening to understand that there's levels to it.
Yeah.
Like maybe the younger guy that's listening to this is like, why are we talking about that?
Yeah.
Well, it's part of the recipe. Like I've talked about it on other episodes. Success is like a recipe. Like you gotta have certain things. And it doesn't mean whatever works for you is gonna work for that guy, but you have like all these ingredients. And you go to the pantry and you get to pick.
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna take that. So that's what we're doing here. So that's very good that you're touching up on that.
Well, and here's the thing, dude, not to interrupt you, but here's the thing. Like, would you ever do anything knowingly that is a waste of your time?
No.
Of course you wouldn't, right? So, again, for the younger guys out there, you take your girlfriend out to dinner, right? You're taking your girlfriend out to dinner because you want to spend a nice dinner with your girlfriend and listen to music or have a nice meal, whatever it is. So why are you sitting on your cell phone? Right? Wow. Why are you on your cell phone if you've made the choice to go out with your girlfriend? Why waste your time? Do one or the other.
So good.
Right? Why go, right? For those of you that work out, why would you go to the gym and walk around and bullshit with the buddies that you see for 30 minutes when in that 30 minutes you could have your workout finished? So I think it's just that it's a time and a place. Like if you're going to do something, go all in on that time because you can't take time back. Once it's gone, it's gone. So maximize the time you have for the thing that you chose to go do, right? And that's what I mean by being all in, right? So if you're sitting at dinner with your girlfriend, be all in on your girlfriend. Don't half-ass your time because you're watching a TikTok video or your buddy's talking to you about fantasy football. Go all in on live in the moment. Be where your feet are. That's what I always say. Be where your feet are.
And I've made that mistake, by the way, like dating. That's why I'd like to ask relationship questions on this podcast because I made that mistake. Like I'd be dating a girl and I really like this girl, but I mean I can think of many examples, but there's one that I'm just thinking about right now. I had a busy day, but it was like we were gonna go out to dinner that night. Yeah, we went to dinner, but I wasn't present.
Right.
Like I was like thinking about work, texting. It's like. I remember that dinner, and I'm like, man, like now that you're saying about like, dude, I wasn't pressing at all. No wonder why she was mad at me.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't care. Like, not like she doesn't not care, but she's like, she wants your attention. She wants you right now.
That's it. And and there are times, I've been married to my wife for 28 years, dude.
Wow.
And that takes a lot of patience. It takes a lot of trial and error, because people change. Right? The person you married 28 years ago is not this person that you're with today, even if you're dating, right? The person you're dating now in 1 year, you're different people because life experiences happen to you every single day, and it changes who you are. So having that patience, and more importantly, I think it's a respect thing. Like I will disclose if I go out to dinner with my wife and I know there's something burning in the back of my mind that's work related, I'll just tell her, "No, look, babe, here's the deal. I know it's dinner time and we got friends meeting us for dinner, but I've got to get these things done." And she'll give me that respect to sit there in 5 minutes and let me, thumbtag this thing and push out that email or whatever it is that's going on. So I think it's a respect thing. And as long as you're open on it, open and honest upfront about it, it works. It tends to work. At least it's working for us.
So good. Hey, so one of the things too that I wanted to ask you was right now, so I just barely found that out, but because I was doing my research. But you're working with 10X Grand. How does that work? Like, what's what have you learned? And how did that even happen? Like, how do you work with that guy? How does that even work?
Yeah,
because I went to one 10X Growth in 2018.
GrowthCon, yeah.
And when he did it back at the Marlins Stadium, and then you're working with him now. I was like, it's like, holy shit! Like that's crazy.
Yeah. So I don't. It's not like I have direct access to Grant, right? But Brandon Dawson has been, which is one of his key guys, and he's out there. He's pushing his own public brand amazingly well. He's got a new book out called The Nine Figure Mindset. Just came out. Brandon's been a mentor for me along the way. I don't remember exactly how it started, but I'd been out of corporate since 2013, right, doing my own thing, consulting, coaching, buying businesses, doing all these things. And I don't know, I got a call from the 10X team down in Miami, like, "Hey, you'd fit in well," I think maybe they saw me speaking somewhere. So they planted a seed, right? And then they're persistent as all get out, right? They're very aggressive, and they just kept coming and coming and coming. So finally I went, all right, I want to do this, right? I want to do this. So to answer your question, how does it work? Essentially what it is, we work with companies who want to scale their business and don't necessarily know how to do it. Because a lot of people are out there telling all the things of the what, right? A lot of people say, "Oh, you need to do this and you need to do that and do this and do that." There aren't a lot out there who actually show you the how to do that, right? So that's where the 10X kind of comes into play. And for my specific niche, if you will, as a coach, it's one thing to 10X your business or scale your business from point A to point B. That's easy, right? That's truly is the easy part. But it's kind of like building a house of cards. If it doesn't have the right foundation, right, you can build a house of cards, but at some point in time, the slightest little breeze is going to knock that house of cards down because it doesn't have a foundation. So building revenue for a business, for me, that's the easy part. The hard part is, can you elevate and create a high-performance team around it that can support that growth, right? So as the business grows, the quality and performance level required of the team also grows.
Goes up, yeah.
Right? So if you start with a Volkswagen Jetta, right? High performance car, not really. I can build you a high performance car, but now we have to have a trained driver, high performance driver. You have to have a high performance crew, right? You have to have high performance promotional company, a brand. You have to have all these high performance people in order to operate a high performance business, right? And a lot of people, and listen, dude,
you're blowing my mind. It makes sense.
It makes sense, but nobody wants to talk about it.
No, but I just want to let you know that it makes a lot of sense. But keep going, please.
So, in essence, you're going to get me on a roll here, bro. In essence, as you're scaling a business, there are 4 things you really need to think about. And we call them the 4 P's. P, the letter P. And it's called promote, profit, process, and people. In that order, right? And I'll show you where most people go wrong. So many business owners think, I don't know I can't scale my business. I don't know how to grow my business. I don't have the capital. I don't have the right people. Or, I hired somebody and that didn't go well and now I don't have any cash flow. All this stuff, right? There's a million reasons. But if you keep these 4 P's in order, right? Promote, right? Obviously, you have to be able to effectively promote your goods and your services, whatever that is, right? Like your brand, right? You promote your brand. From that promotion, you have to be able to create a profit at some level, right? You have to make money at promotion. Once you make that money, the third P, process, now once you have some money, now you can invest in process. For example, some equipment that is going to make you more efficient or effective, a CRM system, an accounting system, whatever those things may be, right? Now you can put those processes in to help your business be more effective and more efficient. And then, and only then, when you can promote, make money, implement processes, that's the only time you can attract the people, the good people.
So good.
Think about that. It has to be in order, right? How many times have you heard of businesses who say, oh, I hired this girl, this gal, she's, college grad, and she's worked here, and she did this, and this, and it just didn't work out. Well, of course it didn't work out. If she's a high level player, if she's an A player, she's not going to come join a business that doesn't know how to promote your stuff and can't make money and doesn't have the processes. Why would the good people come? They're never going to come. So those four things have to be in that sequential order: promote, profit, process, and then and only then, people. Right? Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense.
So as you're scaling, so that really stays in play for about the first $3 million in revenue, and at that point it changes a little bit. I don't mean the sequence, but within those sequence of the 4 Ps, now you've got about 75 different factors and variables that have to be injected into that business in order. There are as many as 75 elements that sequentially, like dominoes, have to be set up and knocked down if you want to go from 3 million to 10 million, 10 to 30, 30 to 100. And that's why most businesses, 90-something% of businesses doing 3 million or more end up failing within 10 years because they don't get that sequence in place. Somewhere there's a domino or two missing, so that next domino that falls, it can't hit this domino over here because this domino in the middle is kind of missing, right? So it all comes back to promote, profit, process, and people in that order. In that order. Wow. So don't go out there and say, buy a CRM system and spend a bunch of money on it every month thinking that that's the way to start in business. Yeah. Don't go out there and tell your buddy that you two should start a business together and you can pay him $50,000 a year. It's the wrong way. You got it out of order. You got to be able to promote what it is you're going to go do. You have to start making some money from it, then put some systems in place, a process. Then and only then can you bring in good people to run the business and help it grow.
So that's funny because we're kind of on that stage, like the process stage. There's a lot of, things we're kind of putting in place, and then I'm slowly attracting the right people. Slowly. It's not like, I got all these crazy people, but it's like, because you're saying all of this, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, this is making a lot of freaking sense. I'm actually going to go re-listen to that just part, because there's a lot of value right there.
Good.
Because that's where I'm at right now. That domino example that you just gave me, it just makes a lot of sense. So
it's very logical if you really sit down and think about it. But I haven't seen anything put out there from an author or a coach or a speaker that articulates it and puts it on paper in a way that makes sense. And that's what we do, right? Because again, it's easy to go build a house of cards, right? But if you don't have the people moving along with it, that high performance team to fly the high performance airplane that we just built for you, there's only one outcome. It's going to crash, right? So it's an interesting game. It's an interesting game. But again, as we were talking about earlier, if you want to play the game, you got to know what the rules of the game are. Right? Are we playing basketball or football? 2 different sets of rules, 2 different balls.
So
right?
let's go back to that, because now we were talking about like the rules of the game. So what's an advice that you will have for somebody like starting out? Dude, these are some of the rules of the game. Because when I started out, you just go, and then you just kind of
try to figure it out.
And you don't have a map. You just, okay, oh shit, I went left, but I was supposed to go right. Okay, now I know. but that left turn kind of stinked a little bit. Like that was, ooh, that hurt.
Yeah.
So what's some pointers that you can give some to our listeners, these rules of the game?
So that's a really good question, and it's a philosophical question for
Please,
sure.
let's do that. Here you can talk about God, like whatever.
Yeah.
This is an open market here.
Yeah, I love that. Because faith has a part, and I think the most important thing, number one, you got to have clarity. You have to have clarity on what you want to go do, with the understanding that the doing part is going to change, right? So it's having that willingness to surrender yourself to say, oh, I thought I was going to go left here, but I went right. And it's okay to forgive yourself once you've made that wrong turn, right? So I think a lot of people fail in business early on because they get frustrated that they've made, back-to-back, sequential in what they think are bad decisions, and they end up giving up, right? And I think they give up because they're too hard on themselves, right? And they have all these expectations from the outside world, right? I don't want to let my friends down. Now I feel embarrassed because I started a business and it didn't work, and my parents are mad at me because I'm asking them to move back into the house or whatever that thing may be. So I think really critical is getting clarity around what it is you want to go do. You do need to have a map of some sort, with the understanding that there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of uncharted territory on that map. And like for me, the way I have envisioned like my career and the moves that I've made, Rainey, I always visioned it as like a pirate map. And there's a treasure somewhere to be found. And that is your goal or your level of revenue you want to get to, whatever that might be. I always thought that the best way to get there was let me go straight to where that thing is, right? Because the shortest path between 2 points is a straight line, right? But you realize, again, I think with wisdom over the years, that if you're looking at that map, that straight line from point A to point B takes you through quicksand, and it takes you through a viper pit, and it takes you through, the vicious tribe that wants to scalp you, right, in the jungle, whatever. So what I've learned over the years is that be patient and understand that there's more than one way to get to your goal, right? Because at my age now and through my experiences as a business owner, now I know to go around the quicksand. Now I know to build a bridge over the viper pit. It may take me a little longer, but that's okay, right? Because the road to success, the graph to success does not look like that, right? It's this squirrely line that backtracks on itself and, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Like it looks like a bowl of spaghetti sometimes, but that's okay. Just go with the flow, and you've got to learn to forgive yourself when you make a wrong move or a wrong mistake, and just not be so hard on yourself. And just keep going, man. It's one day at a time. It's one step at a time, right? It's not all or nothing in year one or whatever you think your goal is time-wise. It's one at a time, one day at a time. It's a journey. It's definitely a journey, and there's more than one way to that pot of gold. It's not a straight line.
That's so good. I've been on that mindset lately. Like, it's slowly getting my team into that mindset that, this is a journey, man. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have some good days. We're gonna have some rough days.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy it.
Yeah.
Let's enjoy dude. I even think about sometimes like how fortunate I am. Even like in my head, we're not where we want to be. I think you'll never get to that point that you're like, I want to be here, but it's been very fulfilling to like enjoy where I am right now.
Be where your feet are.
Yeah, like even the fact that we're doing a podcast here like Monday, I don't even know what time it is right now.
Don't care.
I don't care. Because I could do this Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, whatever. Mm-hmm. I'll do it any day. Like, this is my life. I'm doing it right now. I'm living it.
Yeah.
And I remember going back to when I didn't have any of this. I had retail stores at the time. And I was on my retail store in Station Park in Farmington on a Monday afternoon at this time, stuck in the store because I couldn't even afford an employee. Mm. And like the moments like this right now, dude, I enjoy this. Even even when things are hard.
Yeah.
So, and what you're saying, dude, is very, very powerful because it hasn't been like this. It's been like
always. Yeah. Oh, and I think the other rule of the game is always know that it's going to take longer than what you thought. Always. Always, always, always. It's going to take longer to get there than what you thought. So plan ahead. Plan accordingly, because that's just the way it is. In fact, my 20-year-old said to me one day, it was so profound. He said it probably when he was 19. He said, in his mind, he has a saying, he says, there are good days and there are character building days.
So
good. Not good days, bad days. There are good days and there are character building days. And I went, damn, dude, for a 19-year-old, that's pretty damn profound, right? And I've lived by that. Because not every day is going to be the way you want it to go. Not every day you're going to get done what you wanted to get done, right? But as long as you keep on keeping on, it's the journey.
It's the journey.
It's the journey. And what didn't go right is what molds you to be better tomorrow. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Or you could feel sorry for yourself and give up and go home.
Yeah.
But you provide value to nobody when you do that. You provide value to a shit ton of people when you just stay in the game. So there's your rule of the game.
Wow.
That's the rule of the game. Stay in the game. You got to stay in the game because guess what? You're on the field. Not many people want to get on the field. You're on the field, and guess what? Everybody's sitting in the stands, and they're all watching. And all they get to do is eat popcorn and watch you play the game. Dude, only the Warriors can play the game. But you got to stay in it. Or you can give up, drop your shield, drop your sword. I'll give you a thing of popcorn and a Slurpee. You can go sit in the stands with everybody else that's not willing to step out and go make something happen, right? And just coast, follow the herd. You can go follow the herd, or you can get in the damn arena, dude, with the rest of us and play the game. Stay in it.
That's the name of the podcast, Stay in the Game.
Stay in the game.
Stay in the game. Because, yeah, dude, like, when I started out, like, every day I thought about quitting. It was so hard.
Yeah.
But I was so, like, it's like, the way I explain people, it's like a video game. The level 1, then level 2 gets harder, then 3, and then you're like, as it gets harder, you're like, holy shit, I don't know if I can do this. Like, that hurts. Like, that hurt. And what I've noticed now, I'm on year 7 now, and it's like, hey, I feel the mistakes, but I understand now it's like, it's part of the game.
Yeah.
And I've had that thought process too. When I make the mistakes, because I'm making them all the time, not because I want to, but it's just like, you're figuring things out.
Yeah.
It's that, dude, at least I'm in the game.
Yeah.
At least I'm in the game.
You're in the game, and the mistakes you make become the lessons you've learned. That's the way it should be. That's the way it should be viewed, right? You made a mistake today, good. You learned something from it. You're a better person tomorrow because of it. So don't be afraid of the mistake. Show me one person who has never made a mistake. They don't exist. It's how you learn. It's where you grow. It's where you expand. You got to make mistakes.
So good.
You have to.
That is so good.
How would you know otherwise what to do right if you didn't do what was wrong? You wouldn't know. So go fuck up. A lot of times. Eventually, right? And then you learn from that. Now I know what to do right because I know what didn't work.
Wow.
Right?
That's really, dude, that's so good. Everybody that's listening to this, you need to go re-listen to that. I don't know, whatever that was, 10, 15 minutes. Like that was some game.
That's some game right there.
That's some game, dude. Because if you're starting out right now, let's say that they're listening to this is the first time they're starting out.
Yeah.
And you just listen to that part, it's like, that saves you like years of pain.
Oh my God. Decades.
Years of pain.
Maybe decades.
See? He's OG. Like I'm on year 7, but he's on decades. So see, decades. Decades of dropping bombs. So good, man. That's so good. So another question that I have for you, like, what's your walk, like your beliefs right now, like with God and all that stuff, and how do you manage that with like your business world and all of that? Because this year I've been figuring that out too, like allowing God into my business, but it's like been very interesting, like when you do, when you do that, because you're like, it's like, okay, like the way I like to, like I explain this to people is like the more I'm aligned with myself and live by God's principles, the more stuff he gives me, he talks to me. Go this way, go that way. Or like, like I have this idea, like even when I have like big important meetings, I'm worshiping God before the meeting. I'm like, God, like listening to like Christian songs and telling him, hey man, talk for me, Jesus.
Yes.
Talk for me, God, because you know the vision that you put in me. I don't want to fuck this up. I need you here. And so how do you work that out? What do you do?
That's, oh my God, dude.
Let me check this, but you can keep going, bro.
Yeah. Boy, that's deep, dude. It's really deep. First of all, you know, if you, like I'm a man of faith, I'm a Christian, right? I know that the Holy Spirit lives within me. I also know that God has expectations of me to execute on what he has planned for me. Oof. Right? So I don't take it lightly. However, you know, being an alpha male, right? If you want to call it that, being a leader, being, you know, an aggressor, if you will, being a warrior, not only of God, but just a warrior mindset in general. A lot of times, my biggest challenge is I will talk to God, maybe not audibly, but in my mind.
Yeah.
There are many times throughout my day, Rainey, where I go, hey, you know what, God? I got this one. Like, don't worry, I got this. When something bigger comes along and I need your help, I'll let you know. Because for right now, I got it, right? I got this. And what I find out, you know, more often than not is I don't got it, right? So I really got to get centered in my faith and my personal understanding of why have you, God, put me in a specific situation right now at this moment? Because there is a reason, right? Now, I don't think that God has a joystick where he's moving me every minute of every day. I don't. It's just my belief. I don't believe that, but I believe I do have a calling from him. And like we were talking about earlier, like for me, and for those of us who believe, like the Holy Spirit is within me, right? And whatever I go do throughout my day, I understand now, and I have to remind myself that I'm not alone. Every decision I make, everything that comes out of my mouth, every thought that I think, every rude antic that I may portray towards somebody, it's not me alone, it's the Holy Spirit doing with me. So it's like he's right there next to me. And it keeps me in check, right? Like, for example, you know, if I left here and wanted to, you know, yell at the lady across the street and call her a bitch because she, you know, blocked my car in, the Holy Spirit, Jesus, is there with me. And would he want me acting that way in his presence? Probably not, right? I'm not saying there's not things as righteous anger, and there are times to be angry, but I think you have to find your purpose, and that's such a vague thing, and we hear so much about that. And I think it's much more silent. I think it's during times of prayer and times of meditation and just times to just be quiet and just be willing to listen for what he's speaking to you and through you. Because it's not an audible thing. It may be for somebody. It's not for me, right? I've never heard God talking from the clouds saying, go do this, right? But he does lay it on my heart. Mm-hmm. And what I have found over the years is that when I act on that, whether I want to or not, sometimes I feel uncomfortable. But if I act on it, I know it's coming from a good place. And that's what I was sharing with you earlier. It doesn't matter to me if you judge me and say, I don't like that guy. It doesn't matter to me. My truth is my truth. And that comes from up above, right?
Wow.
And my goal every day is to just have an impact on one person. Like my sons will say to me, Dad, you're in your 50s. Why are you posting on social media? What are you doing on TikTok and all this stuff? Sometimes I go, I don't know, right? I don't know sometimes. But at the end of the day, I go, you know what? Just like today, just on the podcast, if one person can take away one thing only, mission accomplished for today. And we'll just do it again tomorrow, something else tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Serve somebody in some way.
So good, man.
That's
so, wow. That's very profound, dude. very profound, because like, I don't know, life is just like, you just start connecting dots. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
one thing goes to another,
It
and
does.
then it's like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I like that you touched on that and how you're connecting all of these things and with like your beliefs and all of that, because everything that you see I'm doing is been God telling me, hey, dude, go do this, go have that, start the podcast, go start the men's group, go have that conversation, send that text. Like today, like I was thinking about like, this content that I wanted to post for GMRT. And I was like, okay, what do I want to post today? Because in my head, I'm focused on the shoe wall experience right now. But I'm like, dude, I want to post a shoe. I got some heaters in there that I haven't. And then I looked at the shoe that we did back in June. I'm like, I haven't posted that. And by the way, I thought about that guy that commissioned the shoe, and he was telling me his vision, all that. Let me reach out to him. Hey, bro, how you been?
Yeah.
How's that idea going?
Yeah.
And that's what life is all about, just connecting. And that shoe was done like 3-4 months ago. I don't even remember. It was June, I think, June or April. I don't know.
You should share for your listeners the shoe you did for my son in February.
See, that's a whole nother.
Right?
See,
come on, man. They need to hear that.
Yeah. So we did a shoe for your son. You commissioned a beautiful shoe, and at the time, I was still new on the church. And your son commissioned a shoe that's very specific. He wanted a Bible verse in the shoe. And then we put a cross, and it was like very beautiful baby blue shoe with some darker blues, and it was very clean looking shoe. But what it was very interesting to me is that I thought about this. I'm like, why does Paul's kid want a shoe with a Bible verse? Because most of the kids that like dad commissions a shoe, or mom is like they want their favorite team, Travis Scott, Louis Vuitton, like the hype. Your kid commissioned a shoe with a Bible verse. I didn't think of any of it. I was like, yeah, let's do the shoe. Yeah, of course, we want to do the shoe. We do the shoe. And as I was going now deeper on my journey with God, and this year program, Bible study that I'm in my church, I will always go back to that shoe. And I'm like, wow. And you start connecting the dots. And you're like, wow. Like, to me, that means that God was talking to me.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was blind. Or not blind, or maybe deaf. I wasn't listening to him. Now, I will rock that shoe. Like, I think about, like, I thought about it, like, dude, I probably need to make me a Jesus shoe or something. It's so funny that, the way those, I call them God dominoes, right? When I first asked you to do this, we met at one of those events, right? And I'm like, how much is it going to cost to do a shoe? And I remember you telling me, I was like, I don't know, it's a shoe. Kid's going to grow out of it in 6 months, whatever. But in the back of my mind, I was like, no, he needs this shoe. I had no idea why, or the profound impact it would have ultimately had, not only on you and you thinking about why does this kid want this shoe? Like, because my kid, like all my kids, but my youngest, he's a stud athlete. He's a stud student. He's got the girls chasing him around. He's not like some prima donna. He's down to earth, and that's what he wanted on his shoe, right? And in my mind, I was thinking, wow.
There's a reason for this. And it wasn't until I showed up here an hour ago, we get talking, and for both of us, the light bulb went off. Because now, not only did it have an impact on you, but it had an impact on me, knowing that it had an impact on you because of where it came from. And now think of all the lives that you're going to go out and change because of what that shoe that my kid asked for is going to have. That's crazy, dude. Right?
I didn't think about that, bro. Now you went deeper on that.
Oh, dude, the dominoes for you, they just keep going.
Like literally, that was God talking.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Through me. He was speaking through me. I had no clue at the time, but he was speaking through me, communicating to you, right? So basically it was, hey, Randy, at some point in time in the next year, bro, you're going to be one of mine. And hey, Clewell, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to have him commission his shoe, right? And I had no idea, right? But he's just savvy,
bro.
man.
He's a savage man. He's a savage man.
Yep.
Dude, that's so good. Yeah, bro, because and it's actually been the only shoe that people have commissioned a Bible verse on. Which is a crazy thing.
It's fire, man.
Love it. That's insane how you could start connecting those dots.
Yep.
But lastly, I wanted to ask you, just to wrap it up here, right now, everything that you're working on, what's currently what's motivating you? What's keeping you I got this project, something that you can talk about.
Yeah.
That it won't cause any problems, maybe secrets, but that is keeping you exciting and and motivated right now.
Yeah. So I don't have any secrets. So what's motivating me right now is, as I said earlier, I'm the COO within a public company, right? Which is in and of itself a huge challenge for me, which is good, right? Because I'm pushing the envelope, especially in a public trading company environment. There's a lot of compliance noise out there, right, that you have to be really careful of. But we are in the process of doing an acquisition with a social audio platform called Breakout. And we're taking our platform, which was originally the Rich Dad Poor Dad platform. So we've got this database of 5.6 million people in this database that we're going to start putting content out through course creators and coaches and trainers and anybody that's out there doing courses that through digital means. We're kind of rebranding this entity, if you will, Legacy Live Education, and connecting it with this audio social app. And I'm biased because of what we're undertaking, but it literally will be the next big tech play, where you as a course creator, for example, you can market yourself out to our database of 5.6 million people, and at the same time you go on a new audio platform like a Clubhouse and start blowing your stuff up, right? So we are a marketing powerhouse, essentially, is what we are. We promote course creators and trainers and authors and all that kind of stuff. So it's really, really exciting. We're actually going through a capital raise right now, which is another reason why I'm out here in Salt Lake. And it's been challenging for me to work at some of the magnitudes of numbers that we're talking about. But I'm really pushing myself to lead a team of exceptional people, which is really easy. But again, it comes back to that high performance thing, right?
Yeah.
The market valuation we're talking about is in the high hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even $1 billion market cap.
Wow.
So you've got to have those right people in place, that high performance team. So I'm trying to practice what I preach in terms of high performance, with making sure we've got the right people on the right seats on the bus, right?
So good. And it starts with you.
Starts with me and our CEO. But yeah, it all, as they say, it all flows downhill from there, right? Mm-hmm. So it's been fun. It's been daunting, because it's scary every day. But again, that's where the growth happens, right? The growth happens in the fear, right? Fear is a motivator. Right? A lot of people think fear is an inhibitor, and as soon as they hit fear, they stop. For me, fear is a driving force that pushes me through, to challenge myself and to challenge the people around me to be better at what they are, and who they are. Because if I can make people around me better at who they are, it makes my life a lot easier, right? So, it's been good. It's been really good. And then, of course, the 10X stuff, that will never go away. There's always going to be that next business owner who wants to break through that next ceiling and get to that next level of growth, and they don't know how to get there. So that's always going to be there for me. I'll always do that because I just have a heart for that. And I just love to see other people be successful and play a small role in those incremental levels of success. It's what I live for, and it's the sword that I will die on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do you know what's interesting? There's two things that I want to talk about with you right now. First of all, it's what you were saying that, that you want to help people in the way. That's been a common pattern on the people that I bring into my podcast, into my world. And it's a good reminder and good sign from God that I'm on that right path.
Yeah.
That I'm attracting the right people. Because everybody literally that I brought in here, they really want to help people.
Yeah.
And it's been very interesting to me because like these are people that are clients like you, or I know you're at a whole different level and you want to help people. It's like refreshing, like to see, okay, there's the guys up there, like that. They have the experience, they have the knowledge, they've done the mistakes, they've had the wins. They still want to help people, and you strive for that. You're like, okay, I gotta give it back to the ones behind me. Yeah. That's why I'm doing this podcast. Yeah. Because now, when I was starting out, I wish there was, I could find podcasts like these to give back to, that guy that's only 1 month or a year, whatever, 2 years in, or 5 years. I remember year 5 was the hardest for me. Year 5, I was literally quitting.
Really?
The year 5 was like the worst year for me. Like it was it. I was quitting. It was one shoe that saved the whole company. Literally, I was done. I was gonna go into construction. I was done.
Wow.
And that was the first time I really prayed to God.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, man, if I'm really in for this, send me something, dude, because you already know, like, I already turned in the paperwork to close the stores. Like, I was going to go into construction. My dad was like, even going to pay for my construction licensing fee, whatever. Yeah. He's like, you can make a lot of money on this. Like, I'm like, yeah, bro, I just want to make some fucking money. I want to fucking eat. Yeah. And I want to be able to, even if I work a 9 to 5, just be happy. I'm miserable right now. And, and podcasts like this and doing this stuff like that is motivating to me because I know there might be a guy out there like that. I was that guy.
Yeah.
And now
we were all that guy.
See?
We were all that guy.
It's refreshing to see that. But I want to also go back to something that you talked about right now, which is like you're out there right now, like, raising capital. It's like scary. I just had to do my first thing like that. I'm not raising capital, but sell my first big vision to this company, to hit the CEO of the company. We literally had breakfast. I was like, what the fuck am I doing having breakfast with this guy? Like he could be anywhere in the world, but we're having breakfast right now. I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm like, I need to tell him the vision. I need to see if he can see what I'm seeing. And it was scary. Very scary.
Of course.
And it's funny that you're saying that because like even you at your level, you're playing at a whole different field, a different level. But it's like that rush, the adrenaline rush, doesn't go away then.
Well, it doesn't go away, and I think it's because each of us is our own worst self-critic. Right?
So good.
You know what I mean? So it's like the video game analogy that you use. When you get to the next level, it's all new. It's a totally new challenge. It doesn't matter what you did in levels 1 through 7. Now you're on level 8, right? Like it doesn't matter what you did before.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to understand. Like a lot of people, if I compared everybody's life to a story or a book, right? Because it is. We all have our own story. So many people get caught up in. They're in chapter 2, but they're trying to compare their chapter 2 to my chapter 13, right? And they go, well, I'm frustrated. I'm like, dude, you're at chapter 2. I was in chapter 2 at one point, and it fucking sucked. I remember it. But you can't get to chapter 13 until you get through chapter 3, 4, 5, and all the way up to chapter. So don't compare where you're at with where I'm at, because it's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. You have to be where you are.
So good.
You know what I mean? So that scared stuff, I think it comes back to just we are such our own worst self-critic. We're so hard on ourselves, and we have these expectations from other people. But dude, at the end of the day, like if you want to go it alone, it will always fail because there's never fulfillment or success, if you will. There's no gratification in doing it alone. Well, what's the point? But if every day you can look for a way to serve somebody else, just in the smallest way, and embolden somebody or encourage or enlighten somebody every day with an act of kindness or a kind word or helping them with a task, it doesn't matter what it is. All of those people that we refer to as, the multi-gajillionaires, the guys with yachts and the guys with all that stuff, those guys have all got, and girls, have gotten to where they are at because they put people first. They always have. They've always put people first. Because you can't do it alone. Nor why would you want to?
Yeah, so good. That's really
so
good.
It always comes down to people and relationships.
So good.
Invest there. Invest in people. A lot of people say karma's a bitch. Karma's a blessing, bro. Karma is a blessing. You invest in other people, it will come back to you tenfold. I promise.
That's really good, because you know what's funny? That this guy that I did this whole pitch about, like, how my vision could help his company and help it better and all of that. I actually have never made a single dollar from this guy. I just, I admire the guy. He has some of our stuff. He's speaking at our event. I've been planting that seeding. It doesn't mean that I was thinking of doing that, but when the vision came, I was like, crap, I know who I can help with this.
Yeah.
And so even to get to that meeting, a lot of people were like, dude, how do you even sit down with this guy to have breakfast on a Thursday morning at his restaurant? I'm literally eating his bacon and we're taking pictures. Like, I don't know, dude. I just kind of know the guy, and I just send him a text. Hey, I got this idea for you. Can we meet?
Yeah.
He's like, sure. Let's meet here.
So what's cool about that is your willingness to be vulnerable. So by putting yourself out there, right? So one of my favorite signature talks is the power of vulnerability and stepping into that power. And too many of us have experienced and have engaged in imposter syndrome, right? Where we want everybody else to think we're something we're not. It could be simple, right? It could be, wearing a Rolex watch so that people might think that I'm way more important than I really am, right? It may be something really, really simple. It may be, somebody asking you a question, say, hey, do you know Joe Smith? Yeah, I know Joe Smith. You don't really know Joe Smith. You know who he might be, but you don't know him, right? So we all engage in imposter syndrome at times. And what that is it's a level of self-doubt, because we don't want to put ourselves out there and let everybody know who we really are. So it's this vulnerability thing. I have learned over the years, and I didn't discover it until I was in my late 40s, that I had a lot of deep down things that I always wanted to just suppress, right? And for me, it was, growing up lower middle class, we didn't have much. I knew we didn't have much. The people that I went to school with reminded me that I didn't have much. So I had this chip on my shoulder all the time, And I came from an alcoholic family, and the stigmas that were attached to that. But I look back on all of that trauma, if you will, and suppressed feelings and emotions that I just buried and buried and buried. And what I realized, over time, that was really where my strength was, because being vulnerable allows people to see you for who you are, and they can relate to it, because we all have those suppressed feelings and emotions of our past that we are afraid that if somebody knows about it, they'll judge us in a certain way. It's not true. I'm a perfect example. Who would have ever thought 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, if someone ever said to me, dude, at some point in time, you're going to be the COO of a publicly traded company, I would have said, you are fucking crazy. That is never going to happen. That's not in the cards for me, right? But it wasn't until I started, I always thought I was being, when I go into my soul and you search those dark places inside, which we all have, I always felt like I was being buried and I was getting lost in those dark places, until I had a really good friend of mine who said to me, dude, you're not being buried down there. Do you understand that by going to those dark places, you've been planted? You're planted, the seeds have been planted down there. You just got to let it flourish and let it do its thing. And that's through just sharing your story. Let the freedom of who you are and your past experiences have an impact on somebody else, because somebody else is going through that exact same thing. Somebody else has come from an alcoholic family and is embarrassed to talk about it. Somebody else, comes from, very humble beginnings and is embarrassed to talk about it because they don't want people to know the real them, right? But dude, as soon as you share it and you're willing to be vulnerable, you start touching lives in ways that you could never imagine that you could touch lives, because people want to relate and they want to know that they can be with people that are relatable and are vulnerable.
So
because vulnerable is it's not weakness. It's a place of strength if you understand it.
Wow.
A lot of people say, I'm not going to be vulnerable. Dude, you need to be.
Oh, yeah.
Who are you? Right? Because I know underneath that shield and underneath that helmet and behind that sword you're carrying, there's a dude that's hurting over something. There's a dude that's got some self-doubt about something. Let's get to the bottom of it, dude, so you can be a greater you.
Wow.
Why you keep hiding it?
So good. Lastly, last question I like to ask every guest to wrap it up is like, right now where you are in life, current situation, what's something that you're grateful for?
Boy, I'm grateful for so much. I'm grateful for family. I'm grateful for faith. I'm grateful for this moment. I'm grateful for so many things, but I don't know how to even summarize it, because I could go on.
Could be
and on
multiple things, yeah.
It's so many things, dude. It's so many things. I'm grateful that God gave me breath to wake up today, because He wants to do some work through me. And it might be the podcast. It might be the meeting I have. It might be the speaking engagement I have tomorrow. I'm grateful that He breathed life into me today, and I'm not going to waste it, because I don't get it back.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. So lastly, what's your social media handles? Like, people, where can they find you at?
So the best place to find me, and I'm still getting used to Instagram, but that seems to be the place right now.
Yeah.
So my Instagram is PC, the letters PC, and then 10X official. PC 10X official. Your guests can hit me up there. They can ask questions. They can ask me to provide advice if they think they want advice, or I'd love for them to follow, because that's really, I'm understanding now, I'm starting to understand the power of social media.
Yeah, big.
And not to promote my personal brand or anything like that, but just as a way to impact lives, right? So every day I'm trying to post something with a good positive message. I have these, I call them success hacks, where I'll give people, kind of just daily thoughts, or just daily how-tos based on things I've learned over the years. So that's the best way to get me, is PC 10X official on Instagram.
Well, thank you, Paul, for
thank you, dude. This is amazing.
coming by. It was a pleasure talking to you. And you guys, I encourage you, like, go re-listen to that. Like, there's a lot of game, a lot of value for everybody. Like, whatever point you are in life, it doesn't have to be just business. You can literally take this information, apply it in just your personal life.
Yeah, of course.
Just grow up. So I encourage you guys, like, I've been encourage everybody. I just did a post on that, like, take notes. Like, I really encourage you, like, take notes, because I get to see a lot of behind the scenes with a lot of people that we work with, and everybody that comes into our world, the GMRT Experience world, is handpicked for a reason. Things happen for a reason. So I encourage you guys to go back, take some notes. If you have any questions, make sure you hit him up, and yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Peace.